This is Energized, a podcast about simple ways you can improve your energy. I'm Dina Sabbats, a naturopath, personal trainer and wellness coach with 14 years experience working with a wide range of clients to help improve their health, fitness and overall energy. Hello and welcome to this week's Energized podcast episode. We are at episode number 36, which is, kind of exciting. I am thinking that hopefully I'll be able to pre-record some episodes over the next couple of months so that there are episodes still coming out while I take maternity leave, which is happening in about a month now. But if not, then there will be a little bit of a break and then I'll come back. I'll keep you updated as to what's going to be happening. So this week I thought I would talk about post-viral fatigue, and just my general health disclaimer. While I am a qualified naturopath and personal trainer, everything that I talk about in this podcast is general in nature. If you like individualized advice, then please book in with me for a consultation. I don't have many spots left before maternity leave, but I am doing express consults. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. They're just the 20-minute consults. So post-viral fatigue, naturopathic medicine has been for a very long time supportive of a post-viral state. So I'm talking viruses in general, even though over the last couple of years there has been a massive, focus specifically on COVID, but we are seeing a lot more viruses coming up at the moment and a lot of people doing tests, rats specifically for COVID and not coming back with a positive result, but still feeling really sick. So we do know that there are a lot of viruses that are similar to COVID, but of course there is still a lot of COVID around. So naturopathic medicine is very supportive to periods of convalescence. So normally when you get sick, in the past, when you got sick, we were always told to soldier on. Whereas now, because of isolation, not wanting to spread COVID, there is this idea that you can actually have a period of convalescence. So the word convalescence means a time spent recovering from an illness. So it's that recuperation stage. And herbs and other naturopathic medicines can be really beneficial for that convalescence period, so that once you have fully recovered from the experience of that virus and symptoms, then you will feel a lot better. So I just had a look yesterday at the latest statistics of how many active cases there are in Australia of people who are currently recovering from COVID. And it was sitting at around 300, almost 400,000. So last week it was 220,000. So there are, and I do actually know a lot of people with COVID at the moment who are also in isolation. So as I mentioned, it's not the only virus that's going around, but it is the one that we do hear about the most. And so this episode, I thought I would talk specifically not about treatments for COVID. As I've mentioned in previous podcast episodes, every single person is different in what they experience with their symptoms. But I did want to talk today all about post-viral fatigue and recovering from that. So that period of convalescence and beyond. So after the initial symptoms of any kind of virus, the basics that we really need to be focusing on are, number one is rest. So not the idea of soldiering on, but the idea of hopping into bed, just resting your body as much as you possibly can. The second thing is to increase your fluids. So making sure that you're staying really well hydrated. Soups, especially chicken soup, can be really good for recovering from any kind of virus. Also consuming a nourishing diet. So on some days you might not feel like eating anything. Sometimes certain viruses suppress your appetite, and that's your body's way of saying, I don't need any food. Let me recover from this virus. Let me rest, but keep me hydrated. So that, again, you could use soups for that. Nourishing soups like vegetable or chicken broths could be really good for that time. But also, if you are hungry, lots of fresh fruit and vegetables and protein as well. All of those will help your immune system to recover. Gentle exercise. So not the idea of going straight back to gym after you've recovered from, or you think you've recovered, but taking that period, that recuperation period, to build back up slowly. So starting with some slow walks and then building back up to maybe what you were doing before you got sick. And probably one of my favorite things, fresh air and sunshine, because we all know how sunshine can be amazing at boosting your vitamin D levels, but also being out in fresh air can be really beneficial as well. So the other thing in that post-viral stage that I am a big advocate for is herbal medicine. And I've talked a lot on my podcast about herbs. So you can go back to last year. A lot of my episodes, I did a herb of the week. This week, I'm not doing one herb. I am going to spotlight a whole load of different herbs that I have been using in clients who have had a virus, whether it's COVID or something else, and they're still feeling like the virus has depleted them. Herbs can be super beneficial to help build them back up. So one class of herbs are nutritive tonics. So herbs that are under this classification include alfalfa, fenugreek, nettle leaf, oats, one of my favorite, and rose hips. So all of these herbs are nutritive in that they help replenish minerals and vitamins that may have been used up or lost during an illness. So when you do have a virus, your body needs more minerals and vitamins, and these herbs can help replace the ones that might have been used. Other herbs that you might want to look at are herbs that help to build both white and red blood cells. So again, when your immune system has to deal with mopping up some kind of virus, it uses up a lot of white and red blood cells. So you want to use herbs like astragalus, echinacea, reishi, and schisandra. These all support your immune system and help to rebuild those blood cells. Another class of herbs are adrenal strengthening herbs. So these ones are the ones that help with general strength and fatigue. So I personally believe that when you're in that post-viral fatigued state, you need to be building up with nutritive tonics as well as tonics that support the immune system. But if you're feeling really, really tired, adrenal herbs can also help. So these are things like licorice, rhodiola, Siberian ginseng, and withania. Just a note about herbs, actually. I'm a big fan of Siberian ginseng at the moment. I take it while I'm pregnant. Not a lot. I take it in a very low dose. And some of these herbs are contraindicated during pregnancy and lactation, so you can't take them if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. But there are a lot of herbs that are completely safe. So either in low or higher dosages, they've been found to not have any effect on a baby, so on a fetus. So Siberian ginseng is one of those, and it just helps to support that general strength and fatigue. So if you've been pregnant, you know how exhausting the third trimester can be. So I am, really a big fan of ginseng, Siberian ginseng specifically, to help boost energy a little bit. Also, the herbs that I prescribe to clients depend on the symptoms that may have presented during illness. So I talked before about how COVID affects every single person differently, and people, some people will get gastrointestinal symptoms, and I'm going to talk more about that soon. And some people will get just a cold. Some people hit with, body aches and headaches and the flu. So whatever kind of symptoms a person had during that virus, whether it's COVID or another virus, herbs that can be prescribed in that post-viral fatigue state can support that. So for example, if a person needs lung support, there are herbs that can help with that. Digestive tonics, maybe someone is feeling very low in mood or depressed after a debilitating disease. So there are specific herbs that can be used for the symptoms that appeared, and then also looking at symptoms or specific organs in the body that might need a little bit more support post virus. So one of my favorite things to do is to mix up individualized herb mixes for clients, especially as I see just how fast they can work. So my 6-year-old son actually tested positive to COVID 2 days back at school earlier this year. And he, thank God, is fully recovered and he's completely fine, but it was about a 24-hour thing for him, and he had headaches, he kept complaining of a sore head, and he had a fever as well, and he was really, really tired. So the first thing I did was I went and got some herbs for him that would support his body through the virus and then support him afterwards. And as I said, it was just amazing to see how fast and effective these herbs were. I also continued to give him the herbs afterwards until I could see that he was back to his usual self, which was pretty quick. If you're interested in a bottle of herbs, then I highly recommend booking an express consultation. So you can do that at my website, dinasavitz.com. Just on my homepage, there's a link to book a consultation. And an express consult is just 20 minutes. We talk a little bit about your history just to make sure that the herbs that I'm prescribing will not interact with anything or cause any allergic reaction in your body. And then, I'll prescribe some herbs. I make up some herbs. So the way that I prescribe herbs is I'll look at everything that's been going on for a person, and then I decide accordingly which herbs fit the picture. And when I prescribe them, I use two methodologies. So one is drop dosing and one is mil dosing. So when I studied at college, we did mil dosing, which basically means that you take herbs that are anywhere from 5 mils upwards, 1 to 3 times a day in a little bit of water. But since I left college, I've done a lot of mentoring with a herbalist who uses drop dosing predominantly. So drop dosing means that you take a much lower dose. So it could be anywhere from 5 to 35 drops in a little bit of water, and I mix it up. So just depending on what's going on for someone, sometimes I go mil dose because I want a little bit of a stronger hit, and sometimes I think this particular person would do better or would benefit better from drop dosing. So I mix it up. It just depends on what's going on. The other thing with herbs is that often they can taste quite strong. So you can mix them with water, but if that's a little bit too strong still, you can mix them with juice. And some herbs actually come as a glycetract. So they're already in a juice or a similar kind of liquid, and so those herbs might taste a little bit better. We'll talk specifically to each person. With kids, I say pop them in a bit of juice if you want. My kids don't need the juice. They've grown up on herbs, so they just take them as they are in water. And the other thing I just want to talk about is liquids are a little bit faster acting, I find in clinic, than capsules or tablets. You can also get herbs in powders. So a lot of mushroom type herbs tend to be in a powder form or a liquid form. And I use both of those, and they're also powder. It just gets absorbed very quickly because you're dissolving it into a liquid. So it is a super absorbent way to get those herbs. The other thing that I thought I'll talk about, so that's all the herbs scenario. There are other considerations post-virus. So there could be certain nutrients, vitamins, minerals that you you could be lacking in. And so it's important to look at just boosting some of those for a short period post-virus. But I also just saw some new research that is out about taking probiotics post-exposure to COVID. So I don't know if I've actually touched on probiotics yet on my podcast, but probiotics, I'm sure you would have heard of them. They're basically tend to be a powder or a capsule made up of specific organisms. So I get asked a lot, are probiotics beneficial for health? And I say it depends on the strain, because it's like saying, are herbs beneficial for health? You know, it depends. It depends on what herb. It depends on what specific strain of probiotics. So there was research with LGG, so that's Lactobacillus rhamnosus, GG, and they found earlier this year, actually, that it may protect against symptom development in some instances post-exposure to someone who has tested positive to COVID. So they did a study in the 7 days after someone has been exposed, giving them this LGG probiotic, and they found that there were fewer or less symptoms that were developed. So that's something really interesting to touch on. I have some specific probiotics that I use in my clinic that do contain LGG. There's a kids range that I've just started using now as well, which can be really good because we do know that there's lots of viruses going around schools at the moment. So that could be a great probiotic for kids. Now, just a quick note about maternity leave. I am heading on maternity leave around mid-April. I will be available to still make up some herbs, probably up until the end of April. So if you are interested in trying some herbs to help boost your energy, then definitely jump on my website, dinasavitz.com, or send me an email, dina@dinasavitz.com, and I can send you the booking link for an express consultation. Wishing you a beautiful week. I hope that you've learnt something in this episode. And if you have, or you know someone who is suffering from that post-viral fatigued state, please, 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 I would absolutely love if you could share this podcast episode with them. Thank you. And you will hear from me again next week. Bye.